Hi, and welcome to a card tutorial. This is featuring the Tasty Trucks by Stampin' Up. It's a celebration item, and so I'm going to be using that stamp set exclusively, and I'm not quite sure which stamps I'm going to use, but I'm definitely using that little truck, and then a variety of different stamps, and I'm still not sure which sentiment I'm going to use, but probably the taco one. So I'm going to be using a stitched die from Lawn Fawn, and that will cut out my stamped panel when I'm finished. And then I'm using Emerald Envy cardstock and Nina Desert Storm for my card base. I'm also going to be using Memento Tuxedo Black for my stamping and Copic markers for coloring. So I have R29 and R24. G02, G05, and G16 for my greens. For my yellows, I'll have Y15 and Y17. And then I'll also use a warm gray marker, a W4. So I'll move those off to the side, and then I'll start stamping. So here's my little food truck. And I'm going to be stamping that down with some Memento ink. So I'm going to ink that up and stamp it to the bottom right corner, but I want the full truck, so I'm going to make sure that that gets onto my panel fully. The rest of the trucks are going to be kind of off in different places. So this one's going off to that side, and then I'm going to stamp another one behind it, so you just see the front of the truck, and try to line it up as best that I can so that it's a straight line, but it's not going to be perfect, which is fine. And I'm going to repeat this down below and behind the first truck that I stamped. So it looks like they're all rushing to an event where there's going to be lots of food trucks. And I've never actually eaten out of a food truck before, but I hear that you can get really good food from one, but I just never have had that experience. So once I'm done stamping all my food trucks, I'm going to take, I was thinking, oh, I might do another one, but that didn't work. And then I dropped the stamp. So I'm going to leave it as is. So now I'm going to grab the little food items that are included in this stamp set. So I'm going to start with the taco, and that's going to be my focal image food. So I'm going to stamp 2 tacos in that full food truck, and I'll end up coloring those later. Then I'm going to grab another food item. They're really, really tiny. So this is the ice cream, so that's going to go in the top truck. And I'll get 2 of those or 3 of those in there. And some of these will eventually get cut off as I run it through my Big Shot later to cut the panel. But for now, I'm just stamping all of these little food items. So this is the cupcake, and that'll go down the bottom. Stamp 3 of those, and you don't really end up seeing much of them after I cut them off. And then I'm going to grab, I think this is the hot dog. The little food items in the stamp set are just so adorable. And this one doesn't stamp properly, but that's okay because it'll definitely get cut off at the end, as you'll see. And then 2 more little hot dogs. And so I'm keeping the rest of the trucks black and white and just coloring my focal image. So I'm going to end with the stack of pancakes, which is so fun. And that's going to go in that lower bottom truck window, and there's just room for 1. So now those are all done. All the stamping's finished, so I'm going to close my ink and I'm going to start coloring. And I'm going to start with my reds. So I'm going to color my truck red, and the accents will be green, and then a little bit of yellow touches here and there. So I'm going to start with the top of my truck, and I'm just going to go around and completely color in the top portion. And then I'm going to start speeding this up in a minute because you don't need to see me coloring completely. There we go. So fill in the top part, and then I'm going to switch to my R29 to add some shading to my truck and to the awning above the window. And then I'm going to go back to my R24 and just blend that in. And then I'll go to the bottom part of the truck and color that in with my R24. And again, do some shading with my R29 and then blend it in. And then I'm going to put my lids on and take my green. So I'm starting with the darkest, which is the G16, and just adding little bits here and there around the windows and on the side of that middle panel of the truck, and then go in with my G05 and then blend it out with my G02. And then I'm going to color the awning with the G02, do some darkening with the G05, and then the front of the awning is going to get G05 as well, because that will be darker. And then now I'm coloring in the wheels and the top, whatever that part is of the truck, I don't even know. And then with my Y17, I'm going to do a little bit of shading on the tacos as well. And then I'm using my W4 to color in my wheels. Now, one trick I didn't stay in the lines completely, so I'm going to use a white gel pen, and I'm just going to go over the little areas, especially in the wheel well, that part always gets muddy. Now I'm going to stamp my sentiment for the front of my card, and this part starts getting cut off because my phone is not behaving. So I'm just going to stamp the top line on some black paper, heat emboss it, cut it out, and you'll see it there. It says, "Let's talk about how." And then the inside, I used Memento to finish off the sentiment, "Awesome you are." So that is my card. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.